Hello, this is Brian from Parabellum Products Incorporated, NoKick.com. Today we're going to discuss our selection of springs for the M4 carbine. And by M4 carbine I mean any AR-15 with a collapsible stock would use the same spring and the same buffer. And we have three that we offer from Sprinco and one from JP Enterprises. And we have the standard power buffer spring from Sprinco, is their white coated spring. We have their blue spring, which is their enhanced power spring, and their red, which is their extra power spring. And then from JP we also offer their tuned and polished extra power carbine spring. The Sprinco springs are chrome silicone recoil springs that are stress relieved. They're cryo treated for a long service life and moly coated for corrosion resistance. So they've been tested to over 100,000 rounds in an M4 without significant deterioration in performance. So they last a long time, very tough, long-lasting springs, and very corrosion resistant. Their standard spring is a good choice. That's their white one. If your rifle cycles pretty well the way it is, and you want the same power spring, but if you just want to upgrade to a more consistent and longer life, higher quality spring, if you want a better material, better corrosion resistance, longer service life, but you want the same power, you can go with their white spring, their standard spring. And when they color code them, they just put a little bit of paint down on the end, the white and the blue and the red, just so you can tell which one's which real easily. If you want a enhanced power spring, that's a good choice if your rifle cycles well, but you want just a little bit stronger spring. It's just slightly longer with just a couple more coils, and it's a high quality spring, but give you a little bit more strength and just a little bit more cycling power as far as when the bolt's coming back, to slow it down a little bit more, and to chamber with just a little bit more strength. And the extra power spring is for weapons that need an additional power to really cycle the way you want it to. That's their red spring. More coils and a little bit longer length, giving it a lot more strength, and it is significantly longer than the others, as you can see right there. And what it'll do is it'll slow down the motion of the carrier on the rearward stroke, and it'll also chamber the next round with a lot more authority. A lot of people like running that with heavier buffers, or with a lot of different types of buffers like the hydraulic ones as well, if you really need to slow the cycling down on the way back, or if you want it to chamber more authoritatively with a dirty weapon. It has a lot more strength when you're chambering the new round. But something to consider is just what your weapon really needs. If it's a weak cycling weapon, you don't want to put an extra power spring in it, because it's going to slow it down even more on the rearward stroke, and it's not going to lock back as well. So you want to stick with a white or a blue. If it's cycling really hard though, a red one might be something to consider. And on the JP spring, their tuned and polished extra power spring is it's a standard spring material, and it's tuned and polished, meaning that they're very specific about the dimensions and the specs on it, and they polish the outer edge so that it's a flat polished outer edge, which makes it run a lot smoother in the buffer tube, and it's quieter too. You don't hear the twang and the spring noise near as much with the JP spring. It just sounds and feels smooth, and when you're shooting it, sometimes you'll notice a lot of people don't like that spring noise in the buffer tube, and you will not hear near as much if you're running the JP spring with any buffer. So it'll pop in there, and its strength is in between the Sprinco red and the blue. It's just a slightly stronger than their blue. It's a little bit less strong than their red spring. So it kind of falls in the middle, but it's 7% extra power over a standard spring. It has a little bit more length and a few more coils. And to further compare these, just to give you all the details on them, the Sprinco white spring is 10.5 inches long with 30 coils. The blue spring, the enhanced power spring, is 11 inches long with 33 coils. So 3 more coils and an extra 1/2 inch. The Sprinco red spring, their extra power, is 12 inches long and 36 coils. So it's another 3 coils and another inch longer than the blue. And then the JP, tuned and polished extra power spring, is 11 1/4 inches long and 35 coils. So coils are just a little bit closer together, and they get more coils into that same amount of length, but it still operates the way it should in a standard buffer tube with a standard buffer. And if you're wondering which size buffer tube these run in, any AR-15 with a collapsible stock should be using a standard buffer tube like this that will be 7 inches long on the inside. If you stick a tape measure in there, it'll measure 7 inches long on the inside, whether it's a commercial spec or a mil spec tube, and it should be using a 3 1/4 inch long buffer. And where what kind of buffer you're running, it should be 3 1/4 inch long to run with a carbine spring and a carbine tube. And that's all we have for today. It gives you a good rundown of our springs. If you got any questions about our springs, you want any more info, you can call us, or you can post it in the comments section. If you like our video, please give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you can also find us on Facebook. We've got a lot more product pictures and things on there. And with all of these products, they're available for sale on NoKick.com. Thank you.